Thank you. All right. Firstly, thank you everyone for joining with us today. I guess this is towards the end of the summit, so you have probably attended a few sessions. You got a lot of information, probably a lot of slides, but we hope this is something exciting for you, something you can actually use in your enterprise, right? So that's the goal. So to get started, I would actually like to do maybe a quick raise of hands. How many of you here have used AI/MLOps at your enterprise or when you're developing personally? And just one thing, okay, I see hands going up. So what I wanted to mention is by AIOps here we mean kind of applying DevOps principle to your AI/ML workloads because the term can get confusing. But I see a few hands went up, so that's a good sign, and I'm sure you'll find something exciting in here as well. So before we move to the agenda, okay. Before we move to the agenda, I'll do a quick introduction. So I'm Rajat. I'm a data architect at the Gen AI Innovation and Delivery Center of AWS. Been with AWS for around 3 years now, and basically I'm working on building data infrastructure, more towards Gen AI applications lately. And with me is Łukasz, our in-house AIOps expert. So.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Łukasz Jakubowski. I'm also working at AWS Gen AI Innovation and Delivery Center. And I'm a data scientist for the last 5 years at AWS, mostly building mainly previously ML solutions, now more towards Gen AI solutions. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Łukasz. Okay, so the agenda for today, we'll start with what is AIOps. So kind of just touch, what we are talking about today at a very high level without getting too much into details. Then we'll be talking about why do you need AIOps modules. So we want to first showcase what the problem is and how modules can help you. Then we'll move to the modules itself, and then Seed Farmer, which is a open source solution by Amazon, which is available on GitHub, and then some examples, and finally doing a demo showing how you can actually start using it. Maybe one housekeeping thing before I move to this part. So there will be a few links throughout the presentation, and it would be great if you can capture them, but if not, at the end we have QR codes for each of the links, so you can, always have those links for yourself at the end. All right, so now just at a very high level, talking about what is AIOps. If I have to say it in just one line, it would be, applying DevOps principle, applying CI/CD principles to your machine learning and AI workloads, right? So traditionally, if you've been using DevOps, there are multiple principles, how you manage versioning, how you deploy infrastructure, these kind of things, right? Now with AI and ML, as you are, moving out from just building on the notebooks and to scalable solutions which go to production, you have to understand, and you need to have that infrastructure which can enable you to quickly promote from dev to prod and have that lifecycle versioning going on. So the goal is to essentially have an architecture, have an infrastructure which can support you in that part. And what this does is it unlocks more time for the data scientists to focus on the data science aspect rather than worrying about, how to manage model versions or, how, if I have a model on my notebook, how do I make it available to the public? Okay, so with that, let me show you a very nice architecture diagram, which will absolutely make a lot of sense immediately. No, I'm kidding. So this is how generally an AIOps architecture would look like at an enterprise scale. Now we are talking about enterprises, where there are a lot of data scientists, a lot of folks working parallelly, enterprises that are early adopters of AI and ML. So they already have these kind of infrastructures. And this is not something we just made up. This is actually being used by enterprises at scale. And this is impressive. It really enables a lot of people in the organization to, benefit from different aspects of it. But we understand, when you are getting started, it's not something, easy. If you just need a notebook to do some experimentation, we can't expect you to, deploy all of this and then start using the notebook. And that's where I would like to show these modules, right? So you'll see some highlighted bits here. Now the goal is, or think about it, how good it would be if you are able to, rather than deploying the whole architecture in one go, just deploy, let's say, this component or that component. Because let's say you need a SageMaker Studio with a notebook to do some experimenting. So rather than deploying the whole thing initially, you just deploy that part. Or let's say you want to push model versions, and then you can have SageMaker model registry deployed. And the goal is you deploy these modules as you need, and these modules are reusable, and they can be built on top of each other. So the end goal, as you keep progressing, basically you are building these modules, which eventually can lead to an architecture like this, where you have scaled at an enterprise level. Okay. So introducing AIOps modules. So the blocks I was mentioning, those are exactly what are offered as part of AIOps modules. Now this is an open source solution which is available on, again, on GitHub, on AWS Labs. You can find the link here. We'll also have the QR code at the end. And this essentially enables you to do exactly what we were talking. Build your solution module by module. Think of it as Lego blocks, right? You are building first the base, and then you're building, and you continue building on top of it. Okay. Now coming to AIOps modules, so there are over 20 modules which are already available, and the team is actively building and working on creating more and more modules. So here you will see on the left, we have something as Amazon SageMaker MLOps, which is machine learning operations. And here you have a module for SageMaker Studio. So each pointer essentially is a module. So you have a module for SageMaker Studio, you have a module for SageMaker project templates. So say you just want to have a SageMaker Studio and get started with some experimenting on a notebook. You can start with that module rather than having the whole architecture. Then for FMOps, that's Foundation Model Operations, you can have a module for Q&A RAG. So it will basically help you jumpstart with a solution for Q&A RAG, where you just deploy this module and you have that component, again, from that big infrastructure. Similarly, if you need endpoints from Hugging Face, you can leverage this. And there are many more, DAG for MLOps, for MLflow images, and so forth. So that's one part of it, but that's not all. These modules have to be built on some base, right? So let's take SageMaker Studio as an example, as we were talking. Now, for the ones who have deployed SageMaker Studio, you would notice you need to have some basic networking already configured. You need your VPCs and so forth. And we also have such modules, and you'll see it here in industry data framework modules, which you can think of as the base layer of modules, where you can deploy things like VPC or a basic storage layer, which you can use when you're building the other modules. Because when you're deploying SageMaker Studio, you need to have networking aspect. You probably need to have some kind of S3 buckets for storing some things and reading some data and so forth. So there are these base modules also, which you can probably start first and then move to the modules which are needed for your use case. And then we also want to highlight there are some modules available as a more usable solution, and this is specifically for autonomous driving modules right now. But then again, as team is working, there may be more models coming out. Okay. So I think I've been mentioning about some of the benefits while I'm talking, but I just wanted to kind of take a couple of minutes and just reiterate, concretize what are some of the main benefits that you can get out of using AIOps modules for your use cases. So first thing is infrastructure as code agnostic solution. Now, if you have used infrastructure as code, you would know that there are multiple languages and flavors available. There is Terraform, there is CDK, then again in CDK you can have different languages. There is CloudFormation, right? So there are different ways in which you can deploy your resources. And different organizations have different best practices, different ways of deploying solutions. With AIOps modules, think of it as a layer on top of the infrastructure as code. So what you can do is, you can have a module in Terraform, but at the same time, you can have a module in CDK. And you can still integrate them together and build your solution with it. So it enables you to work with multiple languages and then still have a solution that's coherent and integrated with each other. Second point is adjustable infrastructure. Now, initially we saw a big architecture, then we saw smaller modules. Now, the beauty of that is you can start with what you need and you can build combination of resources as per your needs. You don't have to abide by a fixed architecture. You pick the pieces you want. So you want SageMaker Studio, you pick that. You want model registry, you pick that. So you just pick what you need and you start growing your base infrastructure like that. So it can really be tailored to your requirements rather than having redundant resources just because it's part of a big architecture and you have deployed it all together. And last thing is quicker implementation. Now, when you are deploying resources, let's think of it from a data scientist's perspective, right? They are doing something on a notebook, they come up with a model. Now, if they want to make it available to wider team, like an endpoint, for example, they need to deploy some resources. And this could be time consuming. They may or may not have that skill set. They may need, have to learn something. It takes time, right? The goal with such modules is, and Łukasz will show you how easy it is to deploy actually, but you essentially have a YAML kind of template and you're good to deploy resources. So the idea is it makes it easy and faster for example, data scientists to deploy resources. And the other advantage of this is once they don't have to spend too much time on the infra part, they can actually focus on the data science aspect and, develop there faster. Okay. With that, I think we move to Seed Farmer, and Łukasz would be walking you through that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, what is the technology that actually allows us to make all of this so seamless that we can have different parts written in different languages, and then somehow it all works together? So this is all thanks to a tool called Seed Farmer, which is developed by AWS Products and Solutions team, and is also an open source solution, which allows for, again, it is based on Python, but allows for tooling agnostic modules, which can, again, come from many different languages and still have interoperability and be able to create a coherent infrastructure on AWS. It is based on GitOps, if you're familiar with that. And also here you have a diagram that more or less shows how exactly it works, right? So first of all, the Seed Farmer reads the data from AWS Systems Manager and also from IAM. So it needs to have an IAM role to be able to operate on AWS as anything. And then it uses AWS Code Seeder to actually turn the code into inside code build into CloudFormation templates, because eventually anything you want to create on AWS ends up as a CloudFormation, right? Whether it's Terraform, CDK. And this is kind of a step that allows us to operate on top. And the advantage of Seed Farmer, another advantage of it is that you can, once you use the modules that are currently existing, you can also create your own enterprise list of modules because they are very easy to create. And we already have customers that have their own internal modules that are made exactly for their needs, so that when their ML teams need to have new environments spin up, they can just use the template and have that created in fraction of the time that would be required otherwise. So these are some of the main features of Seed Farmer. Let's continue with that. So what is exactly the manifest that Rajat also mentioned in YAML? Here is an example of how this project manifest looks like. So first of all, you can define what parameters you have, and here under parameters, you simply have to provide their values. And this value can either be something that you define here in the template, or you can also go level deeper and have these values coming from other modules as well, right? So then you create this chain where you can, for example, have a module that creates a VPC, and then the ID of this VPC is used in some higher level module, for example, to create something on SageMaker. And these are the main parts, right? So first of all, you have the name, you provide the path to the module that's here it's GitHub, but this can be whatever Git code that you're using in your company. And then we have also the parameters again. So let's see on some actual examples of some of the modules how exactly it looks like. So on the left hand side, you can see again the project manifest of a module. On the right hand side, it's architecture diagram. And let's go step by step to see what exactly creates what. So first of all, you call a networking module, right? So that creates your VPC in our case. Next, we want to have some storage to store files, to store inputs and outputs. So again, we simply have another line in our code that creates storage, and we only have to provide a path to where this module is. And then, boom, we have an S3 bucket already created. And as we can go further and further to have all of these steps created for us, which in the end gives us the entire picture here to to then start working on this infrastructure in a much quicker time than it would take you to do it manually. Another example for Q&A RAG. Here, some of the components, again, are similar. And this, again, shows you the power of modularity, that we don't need to provision everything from the scratch, but we already have one module that then can be reused in many different other projects. And again, you can have modules at the different layers. So you can have modules strictly for ML, we have modules strictly for networking, for any other parts. And inside your company, you can build a large database of modules that can then be with some proper documentation of knowing which module is for, really speed up the development work for your companies. So here, let's go again through the examples where we have, again, networking that's responsible for creating all the connectivity. Then we have, again, the storage and the Q&A RAG that creates, in our case, all of the event bridge, application, AppSync, integration, also calls to Bedrock and Amazon OpenSearch are created using the third module. And you can go on and on with these examples. And one other thing that I wanted to also show you, that will be a link later, is we've also created a workshop that's available on AWS that you can go step by step on your own in your own AWS account to see what exactly is created and how easy it is to set it up. So there will be a link later to do it. And this exactly workshop will go through the creation of MLOps framework inside SageMaker that then your teams can use to develop models. So I recommend that you go there. Again, links will be shared later. So onto the demo part. And I wanted to have a live demo, but unfortunately, I was told that our computers might not work here, so I need to rely on screenshots. So apologies for that. So first of all, what you do is here you have after in your computer, you first of all have to configure connection to your AWS account. And once you're logged in, then you can download the code for AIOps from our GitHub. And running this one line, you can deploy already your solutions. And you can see here the details of what exactly is going on. So in our case, when we deploy the MLOps SageMaker, which is a project already. So this is a combination of modules. Each module here, that's a separate module. And in combination, they create a project, right? So that's going to be the same case for you when you want to create your solution, that you have to see which modules fit for your use case. You create a project template out of it. And then when you deploy it, all of these modules will be created one after another to give you all of the infrastructure created on AWS. And once that's created, then here you can see again inside SageMaker domain, there is a domain created with different user profiles. And the nice thing about it here is that we've already created two different profiles for user, one for lead data scientist. So this role has a wider access. It can access all of the modules, all of the projects inside SageMaker to have full control over. And then there is also the data science user, a standard one. So this would only have the capability of working inside one work stream, not to mess up work from different work streams. And then once we go into the studio, we also have a so-called organization templates already ready, which create a SageMaker pipeline for your solutions. So here you can see there is some options here that are pre-made. Again, in your organization, you will probably have your own created here. And it will look like the following. So here is a flow of SageMaker pipelines where we start with pre-processing of data, then we train the model, we evaluate it, we then check whether the condition of evaluation is met. And if it's true, then we register the model, which can then be used in next step to create an endpoint that then can be used for inference. So all of this work stream, this can be, of course, modified for your use cases. And here, this is the screenshots. All of these screenshots come from exactly the workshop I was showing you earlier. So if you go to the website and do this, then all of these things you will see there as well. So what you need to do once you create some solution, and I think the letters are pretty small here, but once you want to deprovision all of the resources, this is also a painful process usually on AWS or on any cloud provider, which you have a lot of things created for other things to be made, and there is a lot of these links that if you wanted to just manually go to the console and try to delete everything, again, this is a complex solution. Luckily, with Seed Farmer, there's also just this one command of destroy your project. And again, this is a project, so not just one module, but all of the modules that were created previously. And then all of these modules will be one by one deleted from your account if you no longer need them, which again is very good when you want to quickly spin up something for a quick test and then deprovision it to reduce costs, of course. So these are the main parts of running AIOps modules. And again, this is an example for creating SageMaker pipeline, but there are many other modules that our team is creating. And also we are enabling the customers to create modules on their own, because there are only so many generic modules that you can have, but then each company will have their own security policies, their own, for example, naming conventions. So it's usually that's the case, what we've seen so far, that customers want to create their own custom modules that then can be used throughout the organization and speed up the development work. Yeah, so how you can get started. So these are the three links that Rajat was mentioning earlier. So first of all, we have our GitHub repo with all of the code for all the modules available. That's on the left-hand side. Then in the middle, and I will be sharing this later with organizers as well, so you will also have access there. There is the AIOps workshop, the one that the screenshots are from, where you can go on your own and again go through step by step, see how exactly the tool is working and how all of the resources are provisioned on AWS account. And the third part is for, if you're interested, the Seed Farmer GitHub. So the tool that is the secret sauce of our solution. And this is also something that you can consider using at your company, even if you're not, although this conference is mainly made for data science workloads, but for any other workloads like creating any infrastructure in general on AWS, you can use Seed Farmer and create your own modules to speed up the work there again. And I think one of the benefits, one of the biggest benefits, because you can also have just CDK templates or Terraform templates, right? That will also work, and that will also create your infrastructure. The advantage of using Seed Farmer is that you can have different teams that work, usually so far have been working in different languages. So there might be one team that was always building Terraform and they don't want to change it. Another team is really strongly opinionated about using CDK. And in order to combine both of these workloads, we can use Seed Farmer to be able to take both of these resources and create provision our architecture on AWS. Okay, yeah, so I know we're a bit short of time because again, the demo wasn't that long as I wanted it to, but we are now very much open for all of your questions. So if you have anything to ask, just raise your hand. And I'll just maybe hand the mic.
I'll try to be loud. What kind of arguments will I use with my platform/DevOps team? We have everything provisioned to Terraform right now, and I want to go. Let's say I want to go and talk to them tomorrow about, moving to Seed Farmer. Why would they want to do that?
Okay, so in all of your companies, only Terraform, yeah?
Yep.
So in that case, well, I would say that, our tool is not supposed to replace all of the infrastructure as code. Our tool is mainly designed for your teams to have more flexibility in using different infrastructure as code as well. So if right now you're only using Terraform and you have all of your infrastructure in Terraform, then maybe using modules and Terraform and seed farmer might not be, the best way. But as soon as the technology is developing, and for example, I know AWS, when we create any new examples of architecture, any new bits of architecture, for example, for using Bedrock or for using any of the AI tools, we often provide CDK templates, which then are not so easy to combine with Terraform. So one use case I maybe would see in case for a company that is only using one tool is that you don't have to have everything changed to CDK in order to use just a few modules for, let's say there is some data science team that would like to use something in CDK to test. In that way, using AIOps modules or Terraform, seed farmer, they could combine that and create architecture there. Okay, any more questions? If you can speak loud, or I can give you a mic. Okay, thanks. So I'll answer a bit maybe more general question even than that. So in general, our tool does not imply any other restrictions than the infrastructure as code has. So that means if you can create your thing using any infrastructure as code, you can use it using modules. So in general, the modules do not have any limits to having, I don't know, everything, nothing on-prem or anything like that. No. So if you have and what actually is behind, so the modules themselves are also written in one of the infrastructure as code languages. So our modules right now are mostly CDK, but we also have some Terraform modules and some of the basic modules are also just CloudFormation templates. So what it means is that whenever you have already some architecture, already some infrastructure as code solutions in your company, then you just need to create a file like I was showing you on top of it to make sure the seed farmer knows what are the inputs for your architecture, what's needed, what are the outputs that can be then connected to another module, and that's it. So there aren't any limitations that are imposed by using this solution. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, in that case, thank you very much for your attendance. And again, if something pops to your mind, we'll still be here for a few moments. So again, thank you very much for attending and yeah, see you.
Thank you, everyone.